All right. This is one of the incredibly rare times that I've actually pre-watched. I'm glad I did, too. So my man, Tim Piggity Pool, or Tim Cool, as he's known, had Kanye West, Fuentes, and Milo Yiannopoulos on. Well, I'll say it's a 2-hour, 11-minute stream VOD, but the convo did not last that long. Are we watching the whole thing? Yeah. We are going to watch the whole convo between them. Bring it in.
I hope you had a good Thanksgiving. You were with your families or loved ones, or at least relaxed and enjoyed yourself. Over the past week, there was a particularly big news story that's resulted in a continued news cycle, which is now going on for over a week, which is in many ways unheard of. But right now, because Donald Trump went to dinner with Ye and Nick Fuentes, among others, he is now being denounced by Mike Pence, several Republican senators, and for whatever reason, this story, for many reasons I suppose people have made, this story has persisted till today. And we are able to actually sit down with several of the individuals involved in that story, notably Ye, Nick Fuentes, and Milo Yiannopoulos, of course, who made the dinner happen. It's my understanding, or at least got the.
I had the dinner invite before I met Milo.
Okay, my bad. There you go. So we're gonna jump right into this story.
I just overcomplicated it.
Absolutely. So we're gonna start with that. And there's a lot we want to talk about, and
show them.
You know what, man? This is a very big story. A lot of people have questions about, what were Trump's intentions, why were certain people invited, and Trump, of course, has issued statements. So a lot of people want to know where he stands, and more importantly, what happened there and why. And there's also the questions about what Ye 24 means, and I'll keep that a little bit vague so that they can answer to that and speak more to that. And then, of course, we're going to get into a lot of different issues. However, head over to timcast.com and become a member. We're going to have a members-only uncensored show, which will probably get a bit more in-depth on a lot of other issues. That I'll just leave it at that. Timcast.com, become a member, support our work, and we'll talk about more there. Smash the like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Joining us, as I mentioned, is we have Ye himself. Would you like to introduce yourself, good sir?
I wonder. I can't believe I've been in the same studio as Kanye West. That's so dope. I feel like I'm really participating in history. I got to go back there. I got to find the chair that he sat in and be like, oh yeah, I can feel the Hitler particles emanating from the fake leather. That's not a dig at Tim. I think all chairs are made with fake leather, right? You wouldn't make a real leather computer chair. That'd be kind of weird.
You did it.
There you go. I think everybody knows who you are. And which of you gentlemen would like to introduce yourself?
Nicholas, please.
Hi. Yeah, I'm
Hi.
Nick Fuentes. First time here on the Timcast. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. What do you do?
He's so nervous. Look at him. That's a funny still frame. He's so nervous. He's like holding his jaw together because it's shaking. I've seen people like that before. He's like, I know. If it wasn't for all the Hitler particles, he'd be like a ooh soft boy,
First time here on the Timcast. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. What do you do?
Oh, I'm a live streamer. I do a show called America First on cozy.tv.
All right. And of course, Milo, you were here a couple weeks ago.
Yes, I'm your best ever guest.
So we've been told that the episode with you was one of the best podcasts ever. People really enjoyed hearing you speak.
I think that's accurate.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
thanks for coming back.
Thanks. I was wondering how I was going to make it even more extraordinary the second time I visited, but I think I might have pulled it off.
Luke's here.
Total Sausage Fest tonight. Welcome. My name is Luke Radowski of wearechange.org. Today I'm wearing my Didn't Epstein
Yeah, he prayed the gay away, guys.
himself t-shirt, which you could get on thebestpoliticalshirts.com. And I think we should be using that word a little bit more, just like, this YouTube channel didn't Epstein itself. And if this YouTube channel is Epsteined, we will be streaming on Twitter. So yeah, I started a t-shirt company after YouTube demonetized me. So thebestpoliticalshirts.com, because you guys buy it. That's why I'm here. Thank you.
Bit desperate on the opener. It's just a regular black long sleeve with bold print text. I don't know. I mean, you could just go to like one of those customize your own shirt sites. I feel like you got to hook people in with some more unique creative stuff, like some art, maybe like a logo.
Thank you so much for having me.
And of course, Serge.
And I am Serge.com. Pleasure, guys.
All right. And I'll just pull up this story from The Hill, which is from earlier today at 5 p.m. Pence says Trump should apologize. It's wrong to give anti-Semite a seat at the table. This, of course, is related to a dinner that happened, and I was wrong a little on the details. So a dinner happened. Nick, you were there. Ye, you were there. I just want to start off by, how did this dinner come to happen, and what happened?
Oh.
I was talking
whatever.
to Trump for about a month. We had scheduled the dinner in October.
This is a good setup right here, man. You got 6 people in the studio, perfectly framed, so they would have had this ready to go. The 6 cameras, 6 separate cameras. Everything's set up in like the OBS window or whatever their stream software is, with it like framed in the middle. That's a professional setup.
And then he announced for president. He pushed the dinner back to November. And I've been pulling together a campaign. And after I put up the DEF CON tweet, a bunch of people that have been canceled, like Alex Jones, I started getting in contact with other people that were now on the inside of the matrix. And Alex Jones, producer, said that Milo wanted to
First thought right off the bat, because we're commenting, and also I know how long this convo is going to last, so I might as well make the most of what I can see. Man, he has really lost it, hasn't he? Like that spark? Incredibly low energy. I know Kanye's an insanely huge figure, so it's not like he should be starstruck by being on the Tim Pool show. You know, I know like he's been at, award shows, so this isn't like the limelight for him. However, like this is still a pretty low level of energy. I guess a romp with Milo and Fuentes really took it out of him beforehand.
contact me, and here we are.
So that's how you guys got in contact.
Yeah, originally, and then I suggested that we bring in Nicholas as a enormous extra brain firepower that he is. Most extraordinarily brilliant political commentator of his generation, and he's been treated just about as badly as anybody. So I thought he deserved to be in the room too. And yeah, that's pretty much how we got together.
So I have some questions about that, but we'll get through the dinner portion of how exactly this happened, what went down. So this is how you get in contact, the 3 of you. How is it that Nick ends up invited to this dinner, and what happened?
Well, he was rolling with me. I was impressed with Nick, and I was like, just come to the dinner. And we had Karen Giorno pick us up from the airport. And there was a lot of back and forth. There's another gentleman named Jamar Montgomery that was with us. It's he's an engineer at Boeing, and what's it?
I'm telling him we should raise everyone's volume.
Okay, cool. And we sat there, and it was like when Trump came in, I said, do you want to sit alone? He's like, no, bring your friends in. So a big thing is like Trump had no idea who Nick Fuentes was. But this whole, I just got to go right.
That's it. That's interesting, actually. Trump has, if Kanye is saying that Trump doesn't know who Fuentes is, I'm inclined to believe him, because it would be to Kanye's benefit to embellish that. So that's Trump and Kanye both saying that he didn't know Fuentes. But that's interesting. I guess I kind of would have expected him to know that, but yeah, it can happen.
Right to the heart of this anti-Semite claim that's happening. This is something, if you read the definition,
right to it. Not even talking about the dinner, just right to it, huh? Okay.
It says you can't claim that there's multiple people inside of banks or in media that are all Jewish, or you're anti-Semitic.
Okay. A couple of pointers. Right off the bat, you can actually acknowledge that there are more than one Jewish people. There's more than one Jewish person in the entirety of banking and media without being anti-Semitic. It's actually okay to say that. I've said this before, but just in case there are people watching who aren't like fully aware, there are disproportionate numbers of many different ethnic and religious groups in many different industries. For example, people often make a joke of this, but it's unironically a good counterpoint. The Irish have a weirdly high rate of prominence in high-level politicians, U.S. presidents, and a bunch of other industries. Is that because the Irish exercise some kind of like really, really, really specific or like powerful behind-the-scenes control? No. The broader reason is just, well, it's complicated, but it has a lot to do with the Irish immigration wave, the types of industries that maligned, marginalized communities tend to settle in, stuff like that, you know? Well, why are there so many Jewish people in banking? Well, honest to God, guys, Jews have spent like 2,000 years hop, skip, dancing around Europe trying not to get killed. And what they've found, and I'm speaking broadly here, but what a lot of Jewish communities in Europe found was that the best way to stay alive was to stay in cities, because if you're Jewish and out in the countryside, guys, countryside of France, 15th century, a local French farmer realizes that their crop didn't turn up the way they want. Who do you think they're blaming in town? You think they're going to come at a rationalist? You think they're going to think that through? Well, black magic isn't real, so it was probably just the soil acidity. No, they're going to lynch the Jewish guy. So Jewish people tended to stay in cities, and in cities, it's easier to stay employed if you're educated, especially if you're marginalized. People don't want to hire Jewish people in a lot of Europe because they're very anti-Semitic, but if said Jewish people are uniquely literate, or have mathematics skills or other kinds of trade skills that are very useful, well, maybe you don't like Jewish people, but, you know, you do like having a functioning business. So Jewish people had a very strong, very long-standing cultural bias towards sticking together and staying educated. They also got pushed into banking, as everyone knows, because usury was considered against Christian law, but Jewish people are famously not Christian, so they were encouraged to join up with banking. The fact of the matter is, guys, if you didn't like Jews, then you probably shouldn't have discriminated against them so hard that the only way they could survive was by being like high roller shot callers. I'm sorry, it's, you know, it seems like a you problem, IMO. But yeah, nothing that I just said is anti-Semitic, you know? If you want to say, and I don't know why you would want to say this, you know, if you want to say like, there are a lot of Jews in banking or Hollywood or whatever, I mean, you can. Hey, we talked about this before. Why are there so many Jews in Hollywood? Well, early camera designs were highly proprietary, but people wanted to use them to create art, obviously. There were some largely Jewish, Black, and Irish ethnic communities that were interested in taking advantage of the camera as a medium for artistic expression, and you'll never guess what happened to them. Lawsuits. See, a lot of people wanted to make off with that technology, but Thomas Edison, not a fan of Jews, was, if you can believe it, weirdly biased when it came to which groups of people he wanted to sue for using technology that he had a hand in, or didn't have a hand in. He was quite a con man. Now, back 120 years ago, if you wanted to not get sued by Thomas Edison, you know what a great strategy was? Head west. In those days, it's actually really difficult for a lawsuit to follow you all the way to California, all the way to Los Angeles, where there's little rain and lots of sunlight. Good conditions for filming, huh? Especially back in those days when camera sensors were a lot weaker. There you have it. Seriously. It's just, the history of anti-Semitism is the history of like the Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner dynamic, where anti-Semites keep trying to like be anti-Semitic in ways that push Jewish people towards like future success. It's a comedy of errors, truly. Vaush, so are you agreeing they're very nepotistic towards their own? Pump that ass. We got a Yeite in here, a Ye 2024ite in here. Like many persecuted communities, Jewish people tend to be very wary of like I guess like outsider integration. That's not just a thing with Jewish people, it's a thing with like basically every marginalized ethnic group in this country, and also white people, a non-marginalized racial group who are still very touchy about other. How are you gonna say, oh, I, a white racist, believe that Jews are nepotistic? Can you believe the audacity of some of these people? What, like the neo-Nazis or whatever? They're like, oh yeah, you know, I fully believe that America should be entirely for white people, and yeah, I'm fully in favor of nepotism and racial bias when it comes to hiring white people. How could you believe Jewish people do any? Nah. As broader cultural xenophobia goes, Jewish people are probably one of the most accepting groups in America. Seriously, look at their voting demographics. When it comes to being willing to live near people of other cultures, races, religions, live in multicultural areas, Jewish people tend to do better than like a ton of other groups. Really, the point that I'm trying to get at here is that anti-Semites stay losing. Let's get back to it. I just want my position on this to be clear, you know?
And that's the truth. Like, it's the truth. What are we talking about? And
Elaborate. What do you mean? You mean
I'm saying, like, I've been labeled anti-Semite, right? So there's different beliefs about our bloodlines, you know, like the documentary that Kyrie posted. And in general, America.
Keep in mind, the text and video that Kyrie posted was explicit Holocaust denial. It was not just, yeah.
Has been left ignorant and history has been changed. So when we start questioning things.
That's the Hebrew Israelite line right there. Their belief that the original Hebrews are now black people and that what we now consider to be Jewish people are actually a group of usurpers who have over black people, aka the real Hebrews.
That question the indoctrination, then you immediately get, you know, you said debanked or what did you say happened to you? Or
demonetized, deplatformed.
Demonized, demonetized. And what's so beautiful about this.
It is true that being a public figure and saying Nazi stuff does tend to lead to social consequences. That is a thing that can happen. It's been known to happen.
This time is everyone got to see what's really been happening. And now we can really understand. We can see that Ron Emanuel was right next to Obama, and then Jared Kushner was right next to Trump.
So this is just the Jewish question argument. The Jews are behind the scenes controlling the U.S. government. Again, there's not really a dog whistle here. The interesting thing to me about Kanye is that he's so mentally ill and so unaware of how he comes off to other people that a man who used to be known for his charisma is incapable of making these arguments with any subtlety. Even like the stupidest online neo-Nazis know that you don't open with this. You lead people in with other like baiting talking points. You have to you know, they're groomers. You have to groom someone's brain into thinking these things. But Kanye doesn't have whatever precautionary like impetus they might have, he doesn't have.
But so we're getting right into it, I guess, right? I was hoping to go for the news first before we got into all of this stuff.
Even Tim is like, okay, I guess we're just, you know, I asked you about your haircut and we're talking about the Jews now. Okay.
I think the issue is one way to put it is you're expounding upon a localization issue that you've witnessed, right? Let me clarify. There are a handful of people that you see are Jewish in a certain place, and then you associate Judaism with the power, whereas I view that as not relevant to it. Like, yeah, you're substantially more powerful than I am, but I don't.
Here's one other argument to keep in mind. Sorry for the frequent pausing, but again, I know how long this convo will be, and I know that I need to keep it dense. So conservatives, or I should say like neo-Nazis, you know, but I repeat myself, will often make the argument that a disproportionate presence of Jewish people in an industry is evidence of some kind of like bias or like cabal mentality. So I want to be clear, okay? Nepotism and ethnic preferentialism are not only present in the Jewish community, they are present in every community everywhere. They're not good when they pop up, but they happen everywhere. White, black, Christian, Jewish, women, men, in-group preference when it comes to hiring and favorable decision-making are common all over the place. And the reason for that is because we just tend to like people more if we have shared experiences with them. The more shared experiences, the more likely we are to have a bias towards them. It's a part of human nature. However, much like other parts of human nature, like, I don't know, scratching your ass and sniffing it in public, that doesn't necessarily mean it's good to do. I don't think that's human nature. That was a weak fill in the blank. Okay. Um, doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good line to take. Yeah, the I was thinking like the monkey, the core of humanity, like gorilla, like monkey. Wait, that's not normal. Well, it's monkey pilled, which is of course human nature because it's our root. We want to go back to monkey eventually. Can it be another person's ass? Okay, no, focus. The point that I'm getting at here is that just because we have biases does not mean those biases are valid. In fact, the fact that we call them biases is kind of like a handoff that they're not valid, right? Like that's what a bias means in most cases. Some people might point out that a disproportionate presence of Jewish people in the in like Hollywood or banking might mean you're more likely to face social repercussions for anti-Semitism than you are for other types of bigotry because Jews are in these industries. My answer to that is possible, and to the extent that that is true, suck it up and just don't be anti-Semitic. I mean, right? Like, okay, like that. Okay, like, oh, if you're very racist against black people in positions of power might dislike you for it. Okay. Yeah, I mean, obviously in a perfect world, we would all be like neutral arbiters of ethical and logical analysis, and we wouldn't have any biases. It's obviously not a world we live in, and all things considered, if anyone is going to have a bias, I would say a bias against anti-Semitism is a pretty good one to have. You know, we're not exactly talking about an unjust bias here.
View what you're doing as an issue of black people.
Yeah, but have you ever heard the term the black vote? So it's okay to put us in one net, but it's not okay for me to put them in one net.
I've heard people talk about the Jewish vote in mainstream media. When you talk about the blank vote, you're talking about demographic trends, not alleging that they secretly control the country. Different things.
Yeah, but I mean,
that's the basis of the hypocrisy that people have been thinking about and knowing about and realizing for decades. We were all wondering how this dam was going to break. Everybody in the country was wondering, what is the root of this hypocrisy? Why can people talk about white people a certain way? Why can't they talk about that group a certain way? And the most...
So this is like classic neo-Nazi argumentation. The idea that everyone is waking up to the truth. This is the red pill rhetoric, right? You can't just make a statement. You have to bait people into taking it more seriously by making them feel like they're early adopters of like a developing ideology. It's the same way you appeal to conspiracy theorists. It's about emotion more than anything.
The wretched and wicked and oppressive prevailing orthodoxy of cancel culture, well, it turned out that the one thing that was going to break the dam was the biggest star in the world, and it took the biggest star in the world to do it. And now the dam is broken.
So let me tell you my issue. I don't like identitarianism. You guys are familiar with what that is?
Well, they started it, and they've been visiting on us. We're trying to break it.
Jews started the concept of in-group, out-group bias. Wow, Jewish people really are influential, and they're like tampering in the genome of the human species. And oh my God, that's crazy. God, dude, if the Jews have that much power, I say we just cede this shit over to them. If they're fucking... If they've got their foot on our goddamn DNA, then I say we already lost.
When I was asking you about running for president, you immediately said, well, you'd be good for the black vote. And I said, is that because I'm black? No, not just because of that. So is that, are you doing the same thing?
No, it's because you're black. Yeah. People have in-group biases. A black man running for president would energize more black people to vote, in all likelihood. Yeah. Yeah, that's not the same as saying Jews control the world. That's not... Yeah, Obama brought out the black vote. Here, wait, in fact, we can find it. Hold on. Black voter participation per election year. Let's see. Black voter turnout fell in 2016 because the two running candidates, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, were both white after Barack Obama. Here we go. voter turnout rates among black voters by age in U.S. presidential elections. And right here is 2008 and 2012. And you can see noticeable spikes. In 2008, everyone went up a bit, except for the younger voters, 18 to 24, who went up a ton. And then for 2012, we reached the peak for every age block for black voters, except for the youth, who dropped from 2008. But still, you can see a pretty noticeable, like, higher peak here with Obama. You know, it's been known to happen.
I didn't say that was the only reason. I said it was because you're personable to the common person, and you probably would do well with the black vote. Absolutely.
Just because I'm black, because a lot of black people don't like me.
Of course. I think race plays a role in a lot of things. Absolutely. And I think that
I think the construct of race has really been forced upon us as just something for us to be woke about and just constantly talk about and use it as these like walls.
Couldn't you say the same?
He's making the argument that people bring up race too much. Okay. Guy who came on here to talk about the Jewish conspiracy theory. Don't you all think we should dial it down a little bit?
Same thing about Judaism?
Well, let's look at the facts of what I'm saying, though. If you say in this neighborhood where they gerrymander, there's this amount of time. So, hey, I wasn't doing that. I was just gerrymandering the lawyers and the Hollywood executives and the people at the bank that debanked me and then froze my accounts. You know, it's like we want to jump into protect.
What? Gerrymander? Is he saying that he's not? I don't think that made sense, and I don't think I'm going to be able to make it make sense. Is he drawing like a comparison between like covert racial bias, like what you'd see with redlining and gerrymandering? And he's saying like, oh, I'm doing that, but with Hollywood. It doesn't actually make any sense, I'm afraid.
Protecting the idea that we can't put a net around something, right? But that's been my job as a producer, to take, a Roy Ayers sample and put a James Brown drum and put it within a 2-minute, 3-minute song. That's the way I actually think, and that's the way I talk. And now this morning, I found out that they were trying to put me in prison because what they did was, I moved $140 million into J.P. Morgan. And I said, I want to talk to Jamie Dimon. Like, look at me. I'm just going in naive, multi-billionaire. Like, maybe Jamie Dimon will let me in on some deal flow. Wrong. And I'm just like banging my hands like, I want to meet with Jamie. And I start complaining online. And then they debank me for complaining. And so I'm about to get debanked. They're like, you need to go to Trump's, the bank, AXO, whatever.
Okay. By debank, does he just mean no longer wants to do service with? Because banks are a business. They do have the right to no longer want to do business with you. But so many people like to spiral this out with this like, well, don't you think that the ability to use a bank is a human right, so on and so forth? First of all, there are a ton of smaller banks that you can use. They won't give you the same like options that larger banks do, but they're a business and they have the right to refuse you service. And also, like, a lot of people scale this out into this like, oh, well, if we normalize the idea of people getting, no longer allowed to use their banks because of this or that, then soon the media and the banks and the government will all be living in pods. Let me just be clear, okay? And I'm laying this out fact-like, okay? I'm dropping this shit like a bowling ball onto a wedding cake of a person I dislike, all right? And the person I dislike here is John anti-Semitism, okay? There is no fucking problem with billionaire neo-Nazis not getting to do business with banks. I don't care. I will never care. These are the most powerful people in the fucking world. They have the voice of, they have a voice that reaches from one side of the planet to the other. And I know people are going to do this like, oh, well, I'm a free speech extremist and I think that, no, I don't care. I don't care, okay? In a system where wealth means power, the ultra wealthy will always have that power, no matter what. That power is not taken from them. And I just do not care about Nazis being denied the ability to use the private services of a private institution. Nah, that. Vaush, this is an L move. Why do you leftists always sound like staunch capitalists when the right-wing people get boned? And this is a retard move, my friend. It doesn't have to be a staunch capitalist to say, hey, I don't think a private institution should have to do business with a neo-Nazi if they don't want to. This is, you think capitalism is when, like, the concept of terms of service doesn't exist. Like, the concept of a terms of service agreement is like is binding, or people have any like expectations or responsibility. There is nothing, let me be clear, nothing capitalist about the statement, I think there are conditions under which Nazi billionaires shouldn't be able to use certain like institutional power. Like, oh yeah, like the anti-capitalist take here would be the neo-Nazi billionaire gets to do whatever he wants with no consequences. Why is it that free speech extremists who claim to be leftists always arrive at conclusions that coincidentally benefit the most powerful people in our society? Isn't that weird? Isn't it crazy? Every time it's like, hey, I'm a free speech extremist leftist. Look at me. I've never read anything from Noam Chomsky, but I sure as shit am going to cite his signature on that one stupid article that went out a year and a half ago. Hey, let me spend my entire time defending ultra far right people and billionaires who have no trouble getting their message out there, but they need just that little bit of extra support. You know, we're on the precipice of our democracy crumbling, but God forbid Kanye West faces no social repercussions, you know, for being a neo-Nazi. Jesus Christ, these poor guys.
You got to go, and I'm like
these are the type of guys who would protest cops being fired and call it anti-worker. That's the grift they're running on you. Like a cop would beat a black man to death, and when he gets fired, in a rare example of being held to account, they'd be like, whoa, what, you're okay with people just being fired like that? Doesn't he have a family to care for? No, you, I don't care.
I've been trying to buy my own bank for the longest, and then we figured out how to get my own bank. It's like 50 million, 75 million. So
I'm concerned with the freedom and responsibilities of this guy who has the option to literally buy his own bank if he wants to. Truly, this man is hurting in the free speech, public discourse, marketplace, free market speech place of ideas.
I'm about to buy my own bank, but then as they're about to take the money out, here comes Adidas with a $275 million bill for marketing funds that they agreed upon. Because I said to them, hey, I'm the marketing, give me the marketing fund, which proves by the response they got when they, you know, stole the designs and said, we're going to not call them Yeezys anymore. So,
yeah. If you took the marketing fund on the condition that you would be marketing their product, but then they ended the contract with you because, hey, you're not being a good advertiser for the product if all you're doing in public is talking about the Jewish question, they would want their money back. That money was given to you on the condition that you be a marketer for their product. Obviously, they would want it back if that's what you're doing. That's not non-conditional funny money.
So this is what I was already fighting Adidas for. So I'm fighting Gap, get out of Gap, fighting Adidas, and then I deal with this little bit of noise from, you know, Zionism from the fashion world, where they use this plant named Gabby, who's obviously like some kind of CIA agent, knows nothing about fashion. This is a certain,
what?
You know, Zionism from the fashion world, where they use this plant named Gabby, who's obviously like some kind of CIA agent.
Gabby? Who? What? Who is being referred to here? Gabby Carter? Gabby Carter porn videos. That Gabby Carter? I have no idea.
Knows nothing about fashion. This is a certain thing. When someone can't dress, you know that they're not like a fashion person. They're just there as like the society, like the control that they try to use with celebrities, which has now been broken, right? Because you know where it broke. Okay. I want to get on like LeBron in a second, but I'm going to come back to this and just talk about this morning where, you know, I'm not going to mention her name because she's a nice lady, but someone at Cohen Resnick tells me, and I tell all of my finance people, never use the term a lot, but they said, okay, you're going to have to pay a lot of taxes. And that made me feel like they're just like waiting, like we finally got them. We finally can put them in jail. And I was like, can I still run?
What? Is he saying the Jews told him to pay his taxes? What? Okay.
For president in jail, I found out I could. So I was like, okay, that's fine then. It'll be okay.
But if you were Jeffrey Epstein, they wouldn't touch your bank account. They would allow you to break the rules, regulations, just like J.P. Morgan and Chase did, just like Deutsche Bank did. So there is an issue to bring up with that. But when it comes,
What? This guy's probably also a neo-Nazi, right? All Kanye's talking about right now is the Jews screwing him over. This guy's jumping in with a yes and. Are they all retarded? Well, yeah, obviously, but we're trying to sift through the shit to find useful information. Yeah.
comes to the race stuff, I think this is an important discussion to have because I
have to complete this thought. You guys got to.
Okay, go ahead. All
right, because I'm talking about literally finding out that they were trying to put me in prison this morning. Watch this. So
This morning.
yes. So not come to my house this morning, but I found out. Okay. So they put a $75 million hold on 4 of my accounts. And then they said, you owe a lot of taxes. Took me like 6 hours to find out how much a lot was. They said, well, around $50 million. Now I'm going to different CFOs like, okay.
Wait, so the problem here, he owes taxes? Wait, I thought this was because of the Jews deplatforming him. Were his accounts frozen because he owes taxes? Is everything Jews? Keep in mind, like, we're hearing all of this from Kanye West, the world's least mentally well man. Like, he's experiencing all of this in like a psychedelic haze. This is like giving a guy like 14 grams or milligrams of psilocybin and then throwing him into like a business conference or like a law firm and telling him to just talk around for a couple hours and then like assess the situation and report back while not sober yet. Like, we're not. What's happening? Why was anything frozen? I don't know. He took how many Benadryl? Yeah, I don't know. What's okay?
Okay, so would this be tax evasion? Because I'm obviously not the most financially literate person on the planet. I was just a child, basically. Like, when you become famous, you stop growing at that point. I became famous at age 24, and I had handlers around. I had my mom.
You're supposed to know how to pay taxes at 24. Also, you can hire an accountant to do this. You are a incredibly wealthy guy. Just hire an accountant and say like, hey, do this. Okay. All right.
Mom around different things. And it was always like you go from one handler to the next handler to the next handler. So now I get to actually learn how to run a company. I get to learn how to, to count. Really, I was like Pablo in a movie. It was like I didn't even know where to put the money. Like, literally making $300 million cash, but you're just like a high-priced. We're not going to use the S word just because it's just like too passe to use it. But it's like next year I was supposed to make $500 million in royalties, and like no one needs this amount of money. But when I would work on homeless shelters and ideas, I'd have a contractor, we won't say what race, and they'd be tearing down the contracts. It's all about, position. It's not about.
He can't help himself. He's like a child, dude. He's like a little f***ing kid. He's wrong. He says that your mental age freezes when you become famous. His did like half the age that he became famous. What? Okay.
About the amount of money that you have, and to come in here, I feel like it's a setup to be like defending. I'm not gonna go through another, like, I'm literally gonna walk the F off the show if I'm sitting up here having to talk about, you can't say that it was Jewish people that did it, when every sensible person knows that. I mean, Jon Stewart knows what happened to me, and they took.
Ooh, see, yeah, that's why I really didn't like the Jon Stewart bit where he was basically defending Kanye there. Because, like, a wise, intelligent Marxist, can watch the Jon Stewart bit that he did and understand the point that he's getting at. But he basically kind of affirmed a lot of Kanye's point. He basically, like, Jon Stewart's bit was basically like, there are a lot of dumbass anti-Semites out there, and we need to be able to engage with those points. We need to be able to, like, listen to them say, hey, the Jews control everything, and know how to respond to it. But he said it in a way where he's kind of like, you know, hey, you can't deny a lot of Jews in Hollywood, hey, you know, like kind of the Dave Chappelle thing to that extent, you know. It was funny, and again, if you're being charitable and intelligent, you know, I can understand where Jon Stewart's coming from, but ultimately Jon is a liberal, and I don't think he realizes that this like self-aware, hey, we'll banter with it, I like approach towards neo-Nazism doesn't work when the neo-Nazis are growing stronger. It doesn't. It's not actually good, you know. There were lots of funny guys in the Weimar Republic. I'll tell you what. There were a lot of, yeah, I'll say it. There were a lot of self-aware, very intelligent Jewish comedians and commentators, media folks sympathetic to them, so on and so forth. You'll never guess, you know, which pit their ashes ended up in. It's all fun and games until you lose, at which point your biting satire and witticisms no longer have much of an effect.
Took it too far. It was like American History X. Like my head was on the side of the curve, and the exact people that I called out kicked my head. We found out that my trainer was a MK Ultra Canadian intelligence.
He worked in the defense research and development.
I'm always finding out that my guys are MK Ultra affiliated. I found that out about Kanye like the other day.
The Canadian military, essentially working on psyops
Who is this
in the
guy?
Canadian military. This is Harley Pasternak.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, look, they tried to medicate me. I was exhausted. They wrongly diagnosed me, and they when I asked them how.
Dude, the Jewish doctor who said this guy has bipolar and needs his meds, was more right than any doctor has ever been about anything. Guy who developed germ theory, not as right as that one Jewish doctor. Guy who came up with the idea of like, yes, sterilizing medical tools. Nope, not as smart. Brain surgeons, not as smart. Sorry. That guy hit on it, you know? Oh, the Jews tried to put me on antipsychotics. Well, the Jews had a f***ing point, man.
How much lithium did you want to put me on exactly? It took them 4 days to answer because they were embarrassed about the amount, right? And
a lot. It took them 4 days to count the amount he would need. Like, he doesn't realize how this makes him look. Like, from a distance, it's like, my man goes on here, neo-Nazi talking points, a blah-de-blah, you know, and then he's like, yeah, you know, they try to keep me silent, the Jews. They tried to give me antipsychotics to stabilize my mood. They told me I need so much. Haha, those Jews, right? And everyone else is like, yeah, that was crazy of them. Yeah, that's pretty wild. Yeah. God, is that a lot of lithium? Well, he didn't say how much lithium he'd need.
I refused to take this, right? You understand that if I had taken the medication, I would not be here, and it would have been, he was deeply troubled. We miss him. We love his music, though.
Well, they would have Britney Spears you. I mean, look at
They would have Michael Jackson.
or worse, yeah.
So
Look at what they did. Look at what they did to Britney. When she went in, she was tired, she was exhausted, she was in a bad way. But 10 years of that medication wrecked her brain. You can see it now. You can see there's not much of her left.
you mentioned
What? I think Britney's doing fine right now. Like, she's fine. Also, the stuff that got Britney was the abuse, more than anything, right? It wasn't the conservatorship itself. It was the abusive nature of what she was experiencing. I would fully support a conservatorship for Kanye. By the way, fully and entirely. I genuinely think, right at the state Kanye's in, he needs someone else to tell him whether or not he put his pants on in the morning. Okay, I like with the level that he is on right now. You could tell me like, oh yeah, he woke up and he just, like a cartoon, like a baby moving through a construction site in those old cartoons. Like, he just has a bunch of handlers that are constantly pulling him off of like conveyor belts and like big cranes that move him onto the I-beams that are carrying him up to the top floor. And they've just got a bunch of guys scrambling after him, you know? Maybe that's why Milo and Fuentes come across so low energy here, you know?
And Pasternak was the name?
Yes, Harley Pasternak. That's the text message that he posted that we were talking about before.
That's the lobotomy's friend.
You know?
Yeah.
Before the show, obviously, I'm getting a bunch of messages from people. People are hitting me up, and they're like, you shouldn't host them. They're anti-Semitic. They're white supremacists. They're racist. I do find the idea, I do find it funny or weird or whatever that, Nick, they call you a white supremacist. You're here working with or for, one of the most powerful black men, one of the wealthiest and most famous. But
okay, this was what, because I saw this before. This was one of the most telling interactions. First of all, I want to be clear, okay? Tim Pool will run up to the line. Tim Pool will not explicitly endorse racial or ethnic bias, but his job, he pushes people right up to that line. Tim Pool is actually especially hated by a lot of online neo-Nazis because he radicalizes a ton of them into neo-Nazism who then hate him for not jumping the line himself. Like, he does kind of the same thing that Sargon did back in 2017, 18, 19, where he pulls a ton of people past him into the far-right, alt-right Nazi side, who then hate him for not committing to the bit. That's really, really common. You wonder why this live stream video has 30,000 dislikes? Seriously, on the first watch, I went through some of these donations, and though a lot of them are favorable to Tim because people who like Tim are more likely to give their money, you take a look at the $5 donos, and a lot of them are spicy. We'll look at the comments when we're done with the bit, don't you worry. Point that I'm getting at here. Anyway, first of all, Tim runs up against the line. He's sort of kind of playing cover here to an extent. But what's most funny is how obviously uncomfortable Nick Fuentes is, having himself described as a guy who is following a powerful black man.
or for, one of the most powerful black men, one of the wealthiest.
This is the biggest platform Nick Fuentes has gotten in a while. This is him at his A game, charisma-wise. And he's just like, yeah, I know, yeah. Yeah, he hates that. He hates that because, and I don't want to play into the bias here or whatever, but you know what's got to have him see thing? As much of a goofy guy as he is, Nick is smart. He is. Kanye, at least right now, isn't. Can you imagine what a neo-Nazi, a bright neo-Nazi, must be thinking, being attached to the hip and dependent upon, in terms of fame, a not that bright black? That's gotta be rough. Whew. Again, Kanye, genius with music, not taking that. But man, this interview, the brains are not firing on all cylinders here.
And was famous, but a lot of people were saying on the right specifically, don't platform them. And I said, well, I want to understand what they're thinking and why they're thinking it. They're involved in what may be the biggest news story of the past week, and we have an opportunity to sit down and talk.
Because the red media controls both sides. It just said it as simple as possible. Jared Kushner was next to Trump.
It's got no self-control. Nothing. Every time Tim tries to bring it back to some kind of oh, well, aren't we all intelligent and civil for having this conversation? Kanye's like, conversation about the Jews? Don't mind me. And just, yeah, Kanye tries not to mention Jews channel. Seriously, it's insane. He can't. What is red media? It's a reference to an image that he saw probably on 4chan of a bunch of media execs where the ones that were Jewish had their names in red or highlighted in red. The list was probably fraudulent. I've gone over a few of those everyone is Jewish lists, and it's usually like, oh yeah, this media executive is Jewish because his cousin's third wife's ex-boyfriend's partner's dance instructor was Jewish. It's got a lot of shit like that. It's very much like any cultural association, which it's kind of interesting how neo-Nazis will simultaneously talk about Jews as an incredibly insular in-group, but then also include everyone in that group. Isn't that weird? Because in reality, Jews are the only religious group, at least the only one I've encountered, that don't proselytize. I grew up in Beverly Hills, super Jewish neighborhood. Grew up around synagogues. There was a synagogue in my neighborhood that my parents would bring me to, not to listen to any of the, I don't know, Jewish sermons or whatever, because A, I don't speak Hebrew, and B, we're not religious. They brought me there because they had a nice garden. There were usually pretty flowers. I'd run around and play with a dog or a cat. that would just be like there at the temple or the synagogue, and there were just some like nice like bushes, and it was pretty there, And Los Angeles does not have a lot of like garden space either, so you take what you can get. In my whole life in Beverly Hills, and I lived there for some 23 years, you know how many times I was proselytized to by a Jew? 0. My entire life there. 0 times. Wait, I have to address this in chat. From JCT53E, bars. Why are you so quiet about his trainer, Harley Pasternak? Yeah, Milo and Fuentes, but you too, dishonest piece of shit pedo. You caught me. I'm covering for my man, Harley Pasternak. This whole stream is just an elaborate obfuscation. My man, Harley. What the Some fucking schizoids coming out of the woodwork for this segment. That's fine. Don't ban them. We love them. Okay. Honest answer is I have no idea who that is. They said they were not COINTELPRO. They said he said the trainer was MK Ultra. But I don't know anything about this. I just assume it's more schizoid posting. I mean, why wouldn't I, Okay. Anyway, what was I getting at? Oh yeah. Whole time I grew up in Beverly Hills. Never proselytized to. And trust me, I would visit my grandparents in Florida every summer. Little bit of time I spend over there around Christians, I got proselytized to. Only time I've ever been to a religious sermon was in a church, because I made the mistake of spending a brief portion of my life around Christians. Jews don't do that. So I just want to be clear. Are Jews in groupie? Well, every group is to an extent. I think Jews have more reasons than most to be like a little afraid of not being in groupie because, people keep wanting to kill them. It's not good. So maybe stop doing that and there'd be less tension, that'd be cool. But they don't proselytize. They don't try to like bring people in, really. Yeah, no, it's the fasci talking point. The enemy is both weak and strong. Jews are a super selective, ultra preferential in-group who don't let outsiders in. But also, every single media executive guy who's ever brushed hands with a Jewish person is themselves a Jew. Sure.
Ron Emanuel is next to Obama.
But see,
since 1940, go ahead.
I was gonna say, isn't that an issue of these individuals? Like you're extrapolating.
I'm going to order with the last of my money that's available in a different account. I'm going to order a PJ before I sit and have another Lex Friedman setup conversation when I'm literally they're trying to put me in jail for my opinion.
But I get that.
I'm not going to have.
Nobody's trying to put Kanye in jail for his opinion. It might be funny, like it'd be a good bit. I don't think that's happening, though.
Have that opinion. I don't care about people. Those are bots that are trying to tell you. We realize, look at Pence. He sold Trump out. You know what I'm saying? It's like I would have never wanted to do anything that hurt Trump. I'm on Trump's side. Trump said things that hurt me. He lied about me, but I mean, he's known for lying. And when people used to tell me that, he's a liar, it's like, I went into the trenches for Trump. That's another conversation. There was no one in my position that wore that hat. And all of my surroundings exhausted me. It was like death by 1,000 questions. I know I'm jumping to another thing, but what I'm saying is, I know you got a rep for your people online, but it's you got a person in real life that I'm not with it.
I have literally no idea what he's getting at here. The only thing that I know for sure is that he would be calling Trump Jewish if he had any reason to, if he was given any reason to do so. Because I feel this is part of the broader ramble of like everyone has betrayed me, and like that, like he's holding on to Trump, I guess like a lifeline. But yeah, I don't even know. Can you simplify the different types of Jews? Yeah, well, there's fire type, water type. What do you mean? Look, the only two groups of Jews that I know about, Jews? The only two groups of Jews that I know about, the only real group that I know about, difference, is Orthodox Jews and non-Orthodox Jews. Non-Orthodox Jews are cool people, and Orthodox Jews are, like many other radical religious groups, pretty annoying. That's my opinion. That has more to do with the Orthodox bit than the Jewish bit. I still prefer Orthodox Jews to evangelical Christians, Catholic converts, or whatever else, but, you know. They do, however, wear the big hats, you know? That's the real kicker, you know? Jewish guys, they have the little yarmulkes, and, like, that's cool, I guess. But Orthodox Jews have the big hats, also known as the tall yarmulkes, which I think we can agree are way better. So in that respect, I think they have a definite leg up. Yeah. Oh, yeah, drippy. Yeah, Orthodox Jews are very visually distinct, or at least the men are. So, you know, you could always tell when you're walking around Beverly Hills and you see, you know, coming back from a service or whatever. Do they call it service with Jews? Like synagogue service? They have a different term. It wouldn't be called mass, right? That's a Christian thing. I think service works for all religions.
Hey, bro, I lost the money for the freedom of speech, and that's what makes me the only American that we know that really deserves to run the country. Because everyone else, your boy DeSantis, Trump, whoever they raising a petri dish over on the Democrat side is going to play the game.
Look,
And, like,
here's what I was trying to get
Yeah.
to. You went right into the anti-Semite thing. I think it's something that should be talked about. But if you start bringing this up, you're going to ask my opinion on it. I'm going to disagree with you.
I didn't ask your opinion on it. You jumped into it.
But
He doesn't even want to talk about it. He just who asked for your what? I'm just JQing over here. Who sit down, Tim? What? Oh, God.
I don't care about your opinion. I like your opinion on how we win an election, but I don't care about anybody's opinion, bro. I lost. They tried to put me in jail. They blocked $2 billion I had. Like what I told.
Okay, so again, nobody's putting Kanye in jail for the anti-Semitism. And the $2 billion he lost was just the estimated worth of his assets because of his association with Adidas, right? They didn't freeze that. They just dropped the contract because he was working with them. That's how contracts can work, right? Yeah.
Farrakhan, I said, look, is it anti-Semitic for me to say his name out loud? Like, I
The
told,
minister.
Yeah, the minister. Like, I told
Obama met with him too.
Oh, he was. Yeah, I mean, the Jewish people allowed Obama to meet with the minister. You know, so.
Well, Obama didn't meet with Luis Farrakhan to agree with him on the anti-Semitism. That might be why there would be a difference there, right? Like Obama meeting with actually, what did they talk about? Obama Farrakhan meeting. Oh, by the way, if you guys want more info on what Kanye believes, just read up on Luis Farrakhan. He is currently Adolf Blitler or Bladolf Blitler, depending on your preference. He's currently like the patron saint of the like Black Hebrew Israelitism, though he focuses less on the Hebrew side of things and more on the like Black separatist side of things. The Blitler particles are still very much, you know, very active, still very, very present. Oh, they met in 2005. Why are we talking about 2005? Okay. Attorney and pro-Israel activist Alan Dershowitz said he would not campaign for Obama after he knew about the photo. Damn. Canceled. I actually do think it's pretty bad. Farrakhan is literally a Nazi. I do think it's pretty bad. Obama. Maybe this time we really should choose soda. Yeah, I wonder what the full convo was like. But it's interesting. Weird. Oh, well, anyway. Actually, does Luis Farrakhan do the Black Hebrew Israelitism thing specifically at all? Because he's very anti-Semitic. How much does he promote the whole "we're the real Hebrews" thing? I think he used to do it more, didn't he? Has he moved away from that? No, he's NOI? Yeah, but there's some overlap between those groups, depending on the time period at least. Listen, if you really want to understand what Kanye believes, do whippets and then hit your head over and over again with a frying pan. It's basically the only way.
The satanic Jews that control everything and mostly everybody. If they are your enemy, then you must must be somebody.
You guys know how I've talked before about like the problem with Black Hebrew Israelitism and Blitlerism not being addressed in the Black community? The problem is like the problem is that a lot of these guys go back and are community leaders in like a lot of local political and social orgs. They go to like Black churches, they go to like community meetings, they represent Black people in a variety of ways politically. And this isn't treated as the same kind of like Black brand that you would have if a bunch of white people were just like openly attending a Klan rally broadly. Are there white groups that are totally okay with like Klan members in their midst? Absolutely. 100% white people on average are way more racist than Black people. However, I just think there's like a blind spot we have for like this kind of rhetoric. Yeah. NOI and Black Hebrew Israelites have similar beliefs but hate each other. Yeah, well, different. I mean, Strasserites, Hitlerites, it's complicated. Just do whippets.
Farrakhan said, well, did he have the money? The contract for the next 4 years, if I hadn't done anything, would have been $500 million a year for 4 years. What I was fighting for was the IP so my children could, I'm sorry, just sometimes I think about 7 thoughts at one time because
he just thought of Jewish people and got really angry for a second. Yeah, you know why you're thinking of a bunch of thought? Because you're mentally ill. Take your meds. Please. Oh my God. He's schizophrenic. No, he is. Lithium is a mood stabilizer. He has bipolar disorder, and he probably has some kind of psychotic condition. Yeah, I don't know. For those of you who don't know, bipolar disorder means that your brain cycles between two general states of mania and depression. And the mania and depression can take different forms depending on the person and the nature of the condition and what exacerbates it. Lithium is effective for like flattening the curve. Like you still get manic and depressive episodes, but it pulls them both back towards the mean. So your general behavior is more is more normative. Which is good because it's not good. Vaush, don't make excuses for his behavior. I'm not making excuses. He's mentally ill. Do you think he's going to hit the depression at some point? No, he cycles between them pretty rapidly. You can see it with the behavior here. It sounds like it'd be good and bad, like mania is good, depression's bad, but the mania can be just as destructive, or in fact more so than the depressive. Really depends. There are people with bipolar disorder who have feelings of invulnerability during mania. They think that everything will work out for them, so they'll go and spend all their money because, like, whatever, like, it'll come back. It doesn't matter. Everything's fine. They'll go on walks that'll last multiple days. They'll go missing because they just wanted to be outside. This is all like your brain just gives you okay, you guys know how in the anime, at the end of the isekai anime, the protag comes back to the real world and he's like really fucking strong because he just beat the Demon King in the fantasy world. And you're thinking like, there's no way this fucking guy is ever going to look both ways before crossing the street again. Like, this guy tanked like a meteor in the season finale. There's no fucking way this guy is going to give a shit. He's just going to do whatever he wants. That brain state is what mania can do to you. It just injects that brain state into you. It's a whole thing. Of course, low-level mania can exacerbate productivity, which is thankfully how it manifests in me after the lithium. So it can vary. But I've known people who are bipolar where their manic phases are very destructive. Do you think Kanye would do well in the polls? No, not even remotely. He is just a tornado.
Because anything I see, I come up with like 7 answers to it and then just choose what it is. But the thing is, when I said my children, the reason why my brain kind of blocked, because it's like God is saying, your children are going to be okay. Baby mama's got money, right? God is using me. He's breaking me down, removing all of the, richest person, all of this, so I can serve him. And the more and more those things are taken away from me, the more I can be empty and be a vessel and be able to be used. And right now, it's like, you're not going to take...
I really don't want to get into the religion talk right now, but I just want to say I've often made the claim that religion exists as a legitimizing mechanism for other beliefs and feelings to give like a metaphysical justification for some other thing that you believe. And I mean, I think it should be pretty obvious, like how this ties into that, You know, what God wants with you seems awfully convenient in how it sort of overlaps with the megalomaniacal manic tendencies, you know?
Take. If we can't, you're not going to take my pain away, right? The Jewish people say it's the Holocaust, this happened, and you can't say anything about it. We can't take their pain away. No one's going to denounce the fact that they tried to lock me up. That's what, because every time I'm just holding stride, and it's like, I thought I was more Malcolm X, but I find out I'm more MLK, because as I'm getting
Okay.
hosed down every day by the press, and financially I'm just standing there. And when I found out that they tried to put me in jail, it was like a dog was biting my arm, and I almost shed a tear, almost, but I still walked in stride through it. Yeah.
I think they've been extremely unfair to you. I think.
Who is they though? We can't say who they is,
corporate
can we?
press. I'm not using the.
This is exactly what I mean. This is Tim Pool trying to justify, legitimize, and defend Kanye's anti-Semitism, but he's not willing to commit to calling it like a Jewish thing, but Kanye's too mentally ill to let him get away with the half justification. Because the media has not been unfair to Kanye. He has gotten so much undeserved justification and credit and second chances, even though for years he has been saying increasingly unhinged, heinous, immoral shit. He's been given so much leeway because of his legend as an artist. And Tim is coming out here to defend him on that. You know? Oh yeah, they've been really unfair to you. No, they haven't. But Kanye is not smart enough, not mentally stable enough to play the game. He cannot let Tim just say, oh, they've been unfair. Let it hang. Let it be ambiguous. He has to say, oh, by they, you mean?
Extremely unfair to you. I think.
Who is they though? We can't say who they is,
corporate
can we?
press. I'm not using the. I don't use the word as the way I guess you guys use. I'm talking.
It is
about
them, though, isn't it? I mean, because because when you think about it,
And Nick, who again, like I said, smart guy, but a clout shark. If Nick was smart, he would be backing off this point. He would be trying to find ways to pull it back, to reel it back in. You know, if he was truly interested in the propagation of Nazi ideology, he could say something like, you know, oh yeah, you know, Kanye jumps to that, sure, but when you say the corporate press, I mean, you can't deny there is a lot of Jewish people there, right? And then, you know, Tim would have to like wrangle with this equivocation, right? The explicit anti-Semitism versus the implicit. But Nick just wants money and Catboy ass pussy, presumably. Kanye is incredibly mentally ill, and Milo is thinking about young boys, I assume, and is distracted in that fashion.
consider it. In 2018.
What do you mean it's not?
What do I mean? Like, okay, so how about? Are you leaving?
And Kanye
Are you
leaves.
afraid of the press?
He's gone.
He
I'll
gets
say
up.
it right now. You guys want to bring that stuff up, and then
Have
think
the
we're not going
discussion.
to have a
Like,
conversation.
have the discussion.
Like you think Ye's going to come in here and say, "Here's my pain, here's my suffering." I'm going to say, "I hear you," and then he's going to say, "And it was Jewish people," and I'm going to be like, "Okay, but don't you consider?" It's like, I'm not going to do this. I
gotta
refuse.
Go, make sure he's cool.
All right, go for it. Luke and I will have a conversation.
It's over. I saw a good portion of the rest of this the other night, and it's done. He leaves. Kanye did not want any pushback on the anti-Semitism. None. He wanted zero pushback. A degree of fragility. Was that really the end? Yeah. No, that's it. He left. Yeah. Tim Pool was not willing to fully say. Tim Pool will say they are being unfair to you, but then Kanye's like, oh, you mean the Jews, right? And Tim will say, no, that's not what I mean, and Kanye will leave. Insane fragility. That's it. 20 minutes. He doesn't want any pushback. How do Kanye 2024 guys think he's going to hold up on the debate stage? Like, really? Kanye probably thinks that made him look powerful. Well, the funny thing is, I watched a little bit forward from this point. Tim is now going to use this for the next like hour and a half as an opportunity to talk about how he's not an identitarian, and he's actually very civil and rational for having differing opinions on. You know how he's going to play this off. Some of the other guys here, I'm pretty sure, are covert neo-Nazis, especially that lady. I think she's the redheaded libertarian. I don't know if it's this one. That's also not very red hair, but whatever. I think it's this one, though, who will kind of, I think, endorse Kanye's talking points. So, this, what we're seeing right now really is like the dynamic between the more or less open neo-Nazis and people like Tim, who hold a line at the, like, plausible deniability. Obviously, so in terms of how I feel this like came off, obviously this made like Nick, Milo, and Kanye look really dumb, in my opinion. I mean, it made him look really like fragile and stupid and obsessive. Made Kanye look mentally ill. He didn't say anything that even like came off as like wise, People like to do that with Kanye, where he'll say something stupid, but then people will be like, "Oh, but by that he means," and then they'll run off with it. I don't think he said anything that can even be interpreted in that fashion, really. Tim got a lot of publicity for this. However, the online neo-Nazi community, of course, fully here, because this is such a big event for them, here. Tim, you will do great with the black votes. Yee, not with the Jewish votes. Tim, wow, 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 we don't group people by identity here. Tim didn't actually say that, I don't think. Again, I brought up this false equivacy before. All these comments are going to be Nazis, I think, because they're the active ones, Basically, this person is saying that that Tim is the king is naked. That Tim is a coward for not being willing to identify Jewish people. $10 from Manifested Destiny. Tim, what is there to explain? Everyone has eyes. We can read names. We can see who is producing content. Ye is right because you have eyes but refuse to address it. This is the intuitive level that most Nazis sort of live on. Like this is the level they're at, where it's like, oh, you can see it. Guys, Obama is outside my window watching me. That's true. Wow, there are a lot of donos right there in a row. This is the sort of thing that happens when you can't have guests express themselves freely because the platform you're on would nuke you for it. Do you guys get the feeling that Kanye was holding back there for TOS, for TOS purposes? Nazi. Never seen anyone drop the ball as hard as Tim did. Feels like a missed opportunity. These are all Nazis brigading the video. Tim, your show has grown from the guests you have on. Don't forget that. The Nazis really resent Tim for not fully playing to the bit and really want him to move all the way over. Of course, if Tim Pool did go all the way over, he would be censored by YouTube. He would have his channel banned because you're not actually allowed to just have an open neo-Nazi channel on YouTube, which is a good thing. So it's possible that Tim only holds off because he doesn't want, he wants to keep his show on YouTube. I know that one time that like Alex Jones made a joke about killing Bill Gates, and that got like a YouTube strike or something. Yeah. In terms of like what this all means politically, it's kind of difficult to land on a hard answer here. We are seeing the further normalization of neo-Nazi talking points in media. More and more so. They're getting bolder and more aggressive with time. It is incredibly difficult to know like how they're going to handle that, because on one hand, Nazism is very popular with retards, and there are a lot of retards in this country. On the other hand, Nazis themselves, being retards, often fumble the bag. So, I mean, we'll see. It's difficult. No, Tim didn't even push back. Not really. Tim basically just said, "Oh yeah, well, I don't agree with you." Like that's it. He just said, "Oh yeah, well, I don't agree with you on this." That's it. Oh, those are individuals, nothing more. Again, I don't know how much of that is just him and his positions, how much of that is him being milquetoast because he has Kanye on as a guest, how much of that is him not wanting to get TOS'd or sussied, Yeah, I don't really know. No real way of knowing. That's kind of the purpose. Tim just didn't want Kanye to explicitly mention Jews. Yeah, that's a good thing to come away from all this with, Keep in mind that for what you've just seen, that conversation would have been smooth sailing if Kanye just could have kept it in his pants. Nick Fuentes, a neo-Nazi, Milo Yiannopoulos, a neo-Nazi and a pedophile, and Kanye, a blotzy, would have just been sitting there agreeing and chumming it up with Tim Pool if Kanye was just a little bit more capable of coding the anti-Semitism, of putting it behind a couple of layers, you know? And Tim would have been fully willing to give them that charitable platform because he was trying to be forthcoming and charitable the entire time they were there. Oh, I just think it's good we're able to talk, you know? Oh, I think the press have been mistreating you. Oh, I wanted to do this. I wanted to do that, you know? No real opposition was going to take place here. Do you think they planned the walkout beforehand? No chance. You could not plan anything with Kanye West. Right now, like, again, like the, you've got, you know, Milo and Nick had to like use man catchers to kind of guide him towards the car to leave the place. There's no way. No way. Do you think Kanye will be the start of turning a considerable amount of the black electorate Republican? No. I think that he's basically just a tornado that will either embolden far-right talking points or sink conservative movements by association. And probably both, really. Probably both. And the extent to which he's going to do either is going to depend on a lot of stuff I can't really predict. So yeah, that was it. That was the consequence of that that image. Where's the image of them in the plane? How will DeSantis and Yee interact? What is their chemistry? Bad. Yee fully believes that DeSantis is like controlled by Jews. God, Milo's looking greasy. Do you think he wore the shades at Tim Pool's studio because his eyes betrayed the amount of drugs he was on? That's my best guess. Something going on with his eyeballs. Kanye is also upset DeSantis donated to the Daily Wire. Yeah. Again, DeSantis represents a wing of the Republican Party who they full on want fascism, and they want to achieve fascism by dialing it back a little bit on the like insane megalomaniacal personality cults and the open anti-Semitism. You know? Imagine what Kanye says behind closed doors. Well, Milo Yiannopoulos has a tendency to get dirt on people he's around, so maybe we'll get some funny leaks of shit that Kanye said in his sleep after busting one. Jackson Hinkle, who I've said is a neo-Nazi for a while, El Tim Pool, which was the thing Nick Fuentes fans were saying in Tim Pool's chat. He also has a site on Cozy, Nick Fuentes' streaming platform. So yeah. Communist, by the way? Yeah. Well, he doesn't even call himself that anymore, I don't think. Hinkle's just a Strasserite Nazi. He's not even a Strasserite. He's just a regular Nazi. In truth, he doesn't actually believe anything besides, like, power. That's the only actual thing he believes in. He's moved in 2 years seamlessly from, like, Hillary Clinton Democrat, from communist to Nazi in no time with, like, no open expressions of changed personality. You know, like, at no point has there been any like evident expression of, oh, I was wrong or I changed my mind on this, because he never believed any of it. He was just adopting talking points like a chameleon moving around. He doesn't actually have a personality. Empty person. Not even a person. Oh yeah, we have 10,000 people watching. Well, I've got good news and bad news, guys. The good news is that you can actually access content of this quality reliably by hitting the red subscribe button. I don't know if it's actually red. I think it's red. I feel like it should be red. And if you hit that button, you can actually hear my voice more often than if you didn't, because I'll be in your subscription feed. And you should do that. It makes me happy when the numbers go up. It's basically the only thing left for me, okay? My wife left me, my dog is dead. Just hit the subscribe button. Those things aren't true. My life is great. I don't have a wife, and I have 2 cats, and they're both very healthy. I want you to hit the subscribe button anyway. Sorry, I'm just desperate to see the number go up. You can see the desperation in my 500K. Yeah, 500K today.